Welcome, everybody, to another Wild Moments show, proudly brought to you by explore.org. My name is Taylor, and of course, joining me today is Kelly. Hi, Kelly. I feel like it's been ages since we hosted the show together.
Far too long, Taylor. Far too long. How are you doing? You well?
I am good. Just very hot, as you know, in Hoedspruit. Kelly and I both live in the same town, so if I shout loud enough, she might be able to hear me.
Yeah,
And it's
super warm one today.
Yeah. But I feel like we're creeping into November weather rather than October weather. But anyways, we'll survive. We can't complain about the sunshine. But if you haven't joined us before, welcome. This is great. This Wild Moments is basically a live and interactive show, so you can ask us many questions as you like. And basically, it's just sort of a highlight from the last week of all sorts of entertaining clips from the various cameras across Africa. And we've got some very exciting ones to share with you today. But before we get started, we're going to do the greetings. Amber, you've said hello. You've got your coffee and you're very excited to learn and see what the show brings us today. Dear NC, you said good morning from Seattle, and you've also got coffee, and you've said thank you very much to myself and Kelly for being here today. It's only a pleasure. Then we've got Casper's Third Ghost says, good Thursday, Taylor and Kelly. You've also got hot coffee. Amazing. I'm currently feeling dehydrated. I really should have got a glass of water. But anyways, bowl of kittens. You said you've just got the coffee today. And then we've got Jack De Boer who says good morning. John all the way from Augusta, Florida. Goodness gracious, we had winds just a couple of days ago. And then, of course, Mr. HUAE 87. You have milk cake. Yum. I feel like you always have the best treats. I have got nothing except my younger brother was in New Zealand recently and he bought me a little kiwi teddy, which Kelly kindly told me that the sound that this one makes is in fact incorrect. So that's all I have.
I didn't tell you, Taylor. I just played my noise. That's all.
No, it's definitely, like you said, I think they've got one of the most eerie calls of all the bird species. But it was
Very
a nice
creepy.
little gift. I don't have a little kiwi teddy and to add to my collection. So here we go. Oh, we've got Jan Powers. I was wondering where you were. You said from a very hot Arizona. I think we're probably experiencing very similar temperatures at the moment. But if we do get any more hellos, we'll jump back into them. But I'm thinking, Kelly, that we probably should just jump straight into it, seeing as the
Let's jump.
Yeah, let's go straight into the first clip, which is about Egyptian geese, their eggs, and of course, them hatching.
Oh,
look at that. Now, Egyptian geese, firstly, we see them everywhere, and they're considered a pest in a lot of areas. However, I like to watch them, especially when they're in their natural environments. Oh, look. Look at the little...
look, that's not a pest. That's little
goslings.
That's fluff ball.
I know, but because they're living where they should be. Or I don't know if Egyptian geese normally live around the ocean, but they seem to adapt very well. And look at them. Look how they have to jump from that rocky area. And it's quite steep because obviously, well, they're not nimble and they can't climb very well. Watch them going over all the seaweed as well. Also, not the seaweed, the kelp. Oh, shame.
Look at those tiny little things.
Oh, my goodness. But this is obviously one of the bird species when as soon as the chicks hatch, they're rearing and ready to go, as you can see. And they'll navigate and tumble. But, wait, that was a good slide. They bounce right back. I'm trying to see where the rest of them are. I just see the two, but I thought I saw more. Or was it just the two?
I think last time I saw there were only 2 or 3 eggs, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh my goodness! So this is obviously my first time seeing the Egyptian geese nest. I wasn't lucky enough to see it the first time, so I was told that they hatched on Friday, and that's so interesting that they laid just a couple of eggs. Normally they can lay quite a few. Oh my goodness!
Oh, that's too rough for them. It feels really out of place for me seeing Egyptian geese at sea. It's
I know.
it's confusing my brain. I'm used to seeing them in ponds or on lakes or on dams, and that looks very rough for those tiny little things.
I completely agree with you. I think that it's quite dangerous. I mean, it's one thing navigating the world when you're a small bird like that, but now you're going to throw an ocean component when you've got waves and all sorts of things. And it reminds me of a sighting I had a very long time ago. I was sitting watching some elephants, but there was a pair of Egyptian geese and they had about 8 goslings with them, maybe a little bit older than those ones. And the and they were basically creating waves. And these poor goslings were just trying to get out of the water, but they couldn't. They kept getting uh, they, they kept getting taken by the waves and sort of pushed out, and then they'd paddle, 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 try and come back in again. And it was interesting. And I don't think that any of those goslings actually in survived. So the fact that there's just 2 of them, they've got a tough life ahead of them. And well, I suppose we can only wish them the best and hope that the adults keep them nice and safe.
Absolutely. How many times? I'm sure you've done it many times as well, Taylor. You've had a local Egyptian goose nest, and they start with 8, and you count
Mm.
them, and then they drop down to 7, and then sometimes none of them make it, but sometimes a few get through. But I think both of us have watched those families multiple times over the years. Shame.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them living on the beach, but perhaps those adults have been breeding there for quite some time, so they've maybe adapted and figured out a
Mm,
way to successfully rear their young. And then,
fingers crossed.
yeah, fingers and toes crossed. Kaura, you've said, oh, they were so cute. Egyptian geese goslings are precious. They're really entertaining to watch. I mean, you just saw them. There's just no boundaries. They just follow the adults. They will jump and then slide down the rocks, bounce
Roll
back.
and tumble.
Yeah. And on their feet they go and they waddle kind of away. So very exciting, of course, to see it from start to finish. It was a pity that the adult was sitting on the nest while the goslings were cracking through those eggs. But still pretty amazing to see the full sort of cycle. So let's
Yeah,
see.
for sure.
If I head out to that area, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for them and see if I can find them. But that was great. So we don't have too many questions just yet about the Egyptian geese goslings.
Yeah, someone has just said here they did have, I think they started with 3 and then one went missing. We had a big debate over whether or not a hyrax would eat a goose egg. It was Ali and I. And we decided that possibly why not? They were the hyrax were chasing the geese and the geese were chasing, they were bothering each other. But yeah, not sure what happened to that other egg. But no, they started with very low numbers as well, I think.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if those adults breed again there next season,
Mm.
and if there are more eggs, or if they just entirely move the spot. I mean, they're not going to hang around if they're not successfully raising goslings
No.
in that area. Then they're just going to find a new spot. But I can't believe the hyraxes were chasing back. We all know what Egyptian geese
There
are
was,
like.
yeah, there was a bit of a interaction going on, shall we say? They were. I didn't see any physical contact, but there was definitely some interaction going on between the two the other week. It was very interesting to see, actually. I wouldn't have thought what would happen if a fussy met a goose, and that's what happened. They just chased each other backwards and forwards a bit.
That's the beauty of these cameras. Who knows? We're going to maybe witness a behavior that has never been seen before. Well, yeah. Then in
Absolutely.
April, Al, you've just said that Canadian goslings often jump from the nests in trees. And so do Egyptian geese goslings, especially in
Mm.
areas where Egyptian geese will build their nests. They'll sometimes use red-billed buffalo weaver's nest. Well, not sometimes, actually quite often in the
Mm.
northeastern parts of South Africa. And those nests will often be built like on a submerged tree or above a submerged tree. And the Egyptian geese will just sort of take over the top side of it. And I've never seen it myself, but I'd always wanted to
No.
watch the goslings go whoop, whoop, into the water. Obviously, that's a softer landing, right? So they've got a better chance of surviving rather than jumping out of a tree and hitting the ground or tumbling down some rocks.
I've seen it on TV. I've seen clips of it where they've like mountains from cliffs, and they just bounce bounce, bounce, bounce. It's terrifying to watch. And then they sort of go, oh, and they carry on. Nature's amazing how can anything be that small be adapted to tolerate that much power and that much bounce?
I have no idea. I wish I still bounced like that, but not anymore. Hey, Kelly, after you hit your 30s, it's all just downhill as I'm starting to learn. But we digress. Now,
we did.
There is a sighting that we're going to get into now that I'm I can't wait to kind of watch it, because it's of a creature that we don't get to see very often. So let's go and check out the first ever aardwolf ever seen on Wild Moments. Wow, look at that. And to see one drinking.
That is so cool. How many aardwolf sightings have you had, Taylor? Do you think? Guess.
You know what? I've actually been really lucky. When I used to work in the Eastern Cape at Kariega Game Reserve, we'd see them quite frequently. Normally just a fleeting glimpse. But Kelly, you won't believe it. I was just in Botswana and I had the best aardwolf sighting I've ever had in my entire life. So for those of you that don't know, just to quickly put it into perspective, aardwolf are the smallest of within the Hyenidae family. They very much look like striped hyenas, just like a miniature version of them. And there's not much known about them. Like, reading about aardwolf, there's a lot of conflicting information, and it's been tough. So I found a couple of research papers. But anyways, after reading these research papers with the sighting that I had, I think I know what was sort of going on. So we're driving around, we using a spotlight, and we spotted this creature in the long grass, and it turned out to be an aardwolf. But it wasn't scared. It didn't run away. It was, in fact, an adult that was scent marking, so patrolling its territory. But I have no idea if it was a male or a female. So we followed it around for a little bit. And then we moved off. We didn't want to spend too much time with it. We want to constantly have positive interactions so that it stays nice and habituated. And then we drove a little distance and we found a sub-adult. And I was confused because, honestly, I still don't know much about aardwolf in comparison of all the other animals that I understand their basic behavior. I was sort of like in two minds. Was it a female? Was it a male that we saw scent marking? But now I'm thinking, it wasn't far away from where the supposed aardwolf den site was. I wonder if it was the male that was just sort of doing a little patrol, because it wasn't far off. It was maybe like 50 meters away or so. And I did read that males quite often can stay around the dens and look after the young if the females go out and forage. But again, I've also read so much conflicting information. So something interesting to keep searching.
I was reading. I've probably had Madikwe. When I was in Madikwe, there was a known location for an aardwolf den site, and it was really, really, really gently managed. And we had, I think I saw three.
Wow.
An adult and two sub-adults. But I remember at the time thinking, these things are so secretive. I don't know anything about them. It's basically a striped hyena the size of a jackal that eats termites. They've got canine teeth, but they're mostly they might get them around a rat or a mouse or something, but other than that, they're completely useless. Very strange animals. And we struggle to sex spotted hyenas sometimes. So I don't know what chance we've got of a very little researched, highly shy nocturnal variation of the hyena. So yeah, I'm not sure, but fascinating animals though.
Well, I think with the Safari Hook camera being positioned where it is, we've got a chance of seeing some more aardwolf behavior, which is exciting. So if you are watching and you manage to catch it live, even just jot down some of the behavior and kind of keep a record of it. And hopefully over time we can start sort of building on it, start commenting on it a little bit more. And I mean, even the research that I found, Kelly, it's old. It's all from the 90s. There's nothing really recent. So I actually, to be fair, I need to find out, is there a specific conservation organization focusing just on aardwolf? If anybody does know the answer to that or knows of a site, please share it with us. It's definitely an area that I would like to, an animal that I'd like to learn a little bit more about. But I mean, that sighting that I had now, I actually even managed to photograph one, which was the first time I've ever managed to photograph an aardwolf. And then I'm trying to think, the last sighting I had, I think, was in Kenya in around early 2018. And that was it.
I'm just having a look on there.
And then I see there's a question. Oh, sorry.
No, go on. I was just going to say, Catherine said, do they only eat termites? Yeah, normally harvested termites. Sometimes they prefer harvested termites. They do swap between species of termite depending on the season. But like when we were talking about the dusties the other day, technically they're herbivores. But if there's an amazing bit of food going somewhere, their teeth aren't structured to be able to eat much more, but protein is protein, I guess, insectivores. So mostly termites, Catherine, yes, but have I frozen?
Just a little bit, but you're back again now.
Okay, I'm back. Hi. So pretty much, Catherine, yes. Oh, you do the next one, Taylor.
And then I see JJ, you said, would their babies be called pups or cubs? I'd be inclined to say cubs just because they're in the Hyenidae family, and that's what we typically refer to with the young. But you hear so many people, using both pups and cubs. Honestly, it's, as we say, much of a muchness. I think if you're writing a scientific paper, then you need to be absolutely correct. If you're just having a conversation, it doesn't really matter. But I would use the word. It's a baby one, exactly. But
juvenile.
Juvenile, exactly. Whatever comes to mind first. But that is very, very special to see. I haven't seen, I'd never thought I'd see one drinking water. Obviously being so vulnerable and shy, coming out to a big open space, like that's really special to just watch it for a while. So hopefully you start to see some of that scent marking behavior as well. And breeding season for the most part has come and gone. So a lot of the adults will have den sites with young cubs, but they're probably maybe not quite old enough just yet to really start roaming around with the adults. So again, something to keep an eye out for. But we have another clip from Safari Hook, and that one is another interesting behavior between two different species.
Oh, these birds are so cool. I don't see enough of these birds.
No, and Kelly, they're my favorite bird ever. Oh, hello.
Really? What's going on here?
I think the secretary bird wants to come down for a drink, which is also something I've never seen before. I've never seen them drinking.
I always associate them with their sort of, I don't think aardwolf are technically sort of desert specialists, but I always picture them in arid areas, and I feel the same about secretary birds for some reason. I don't know. Am I wrong?
No. Oh, okay. Hello.
Oh,
Springbuck. That was rude. There's more than enough water to go around there for everyone. I'm wondering, that looks like a youngster that actually sort of moved. Look, there's an adult getting involved now too. Look at them all. Look like they're ganging up on it. That is so funny.
It's so cool to watch. Look how they walk.
It's not like the secretary bird would necessarily be a threat to the springbuck. But look at that. They're just not interested. They're just saying, right, off you go. That is so bizarre. This is just what I love. It's just seeing these behaviors that people don't write about. And who knows, maybe these springbuck have had a bad interaction with the secretary bird, and that's why they're not tolerating them in this specific area. But I've seen secretary birds interacting with many different mammal species, and they're not really being much of a problem. And it looks like that springbuck on the left is actively sort of moving it along.
Oh, yeah. Actually escorting it away from the water.
Yeah. Now, we normally see a lot of competition in the dry season and around a waterhole, but I'm not familiar with this area. I know it's just outside of Etosha National Park. I don't know how big the waterhole is itself, but there looks like there's space. So I think this is completely unnecessary on the springbuck behalf, but perhaps the secretary bird will just have to be a little bit patient and and wait for a gap, because this gemspot didn't look like it was bothered at all by the bird.
No, I wonder if it was related to, I wonder if those springbok had seen secretary birds before. Like, they're a bit of a funny looking thing, aren't they? They're not a standard, you know, if I was a springbok, I wouldn't sort of go, oh look, there's a bird. They're a funny shape. Maybe they weren't sure what was encroaching on their water. Who knows?
I suppose it could have been a number of different things. And then JJ was actually asking, could this bird kill their young? So, you know, probably. I mean, a little springbok, when it's born, it's small, it's helpless, and those birds have got very powerful legs. It's not something I've seen before. I've seen them, obviously, they're snake killing specialists. I've seen them eating rodents for the most part. I've also seen them eating like lizards and that type of thing. But I feel like all animals are opportunistic, and really nothing is off the menu. So that's it. Maybe because of how arid it is, and again, I don't know. Maybe the secretary birds have had to start adjusting their diets, because they also eat a lot of insects, and there's not going to be a lot of insects around. There's also probably not that many snakes. So maybe that's it. Maybe they just don't have that good of a relationship. They've got the big hook, sharp bill, so you know they could very easily tear flesh straight from a youngster. So maybe you're quite right, JJ. Maybe that's it. Maybe they've killed their young before, and they're just rather cautious. I'd be too. If I had to look up to anything, I'd be a bit on the nervous side.
No, me too. I think that's a really good point, actually. Well done, JJ. I think I'd be inclined to agree there.
And then W. Bouchard, you've just asked. You've just said that bird is huge. They are. They're really tall individuals. They're quite like unassuming from a distance, but as soon as you pick up a pair of binoculars, or if you're lucky enough to see them up close, they are beautiful. They're formidable predators, and definitely a bird that I would not like to mess with. Kind of like ostriches. Yeah, we know ostriches are super dangerous, but I think a secretary bird, if it decided to turn on you, could do some serious damage. And then, I'm sorry, I'm just going through the questions here. Mindy, you've said there's a rumor out there that they want to change the secretary bird's name. I haven't heard that. Have you heard that, Kelly?
I haven't. No, I haven't heard that. But to be honest, I don't think I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But no, I also haven't heard that rumor. It's as we all know, there's often updates on. I was going to make myself look stupid then. I don't know what family do they sit in? Do they sit with raptors?
So they're in there. So funny enough, I learned the entire taxonomic breakdown of a secretary bird when I was training to be a guide, and we had to learn a bird species, and I've never kind of forgotten it. So it's in its own family.
How fortunate!
Yeah, it's in the Sagittariidae family. There's nothing else that's related to it at all. So not quite raptors. Just something on its own.
Just on its own. Well, maybe science has discovered it turns out to be closer to something, and that's normally what they do when they're changing bird names. So I haven't heard it, Mindy, but wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, I don't know what you would call it, Mindy. If any of you've got any suggestions, if they do change the name of a secretary bird, and you have any ideas or better ideas than the ornithologists, it's not hard to do that. And what you would call them, let us know. We're like the long-legged crested something. I don't know. You could really go wild.
It would probably be the short-legged fat bird or something, knowing bird naming skills.
Well, maybe in that area of Namibia, it's known as the springbok killer. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows?
I'm just teasing. Okay, we'll move on from the secretary birds, and we do have one more clip to show you, and that is at my favorite place, my favorite camera of all time in Kenya, at Old Donyo. Let's go see what the clip is about. Jackals.
Hey. See, for anyone that doesn't know, I was gonna that's so cool. That made me jump. I was going to say aardwolves are about the same size as jackals. And then boom, I thought, what's going on here? I've never seen a striped hyena.
Me neither. I've seen their tracks, but I've never seen one itself. Also, I love that its right ear has got kind of like quite a big notch in it. So that's going to be nice for us to keep tabs on this one. But I suppose this is not unusual behavior from the black-backed jackals. They are known to test the patience of lots of animals, bite their tails, chase them around. And, again, striped hyenas, they're so elusive. There's not much known about them. They're definitely more on the timid side. I mean, I'm pretty sure they can just turn around and be super aggressive when they absolutely have to. But the jackals are taking advantage of this situation. Leave the poor striped hyena alone. Also, if you chase it away and you don't follow it, you might miss out on a meal.
That's very true.
JJ's asked, would a jackal and an aardwolf fight? Maybe. Apparently, striped hyenas and jackals also have arguments with one another, but the jackals come off on top. I think it's just their tenacious sort of attitude that they never give up. It's the same thing like mobbing behavior. That constant thing of just niggling, harassing, and eventually somebody or whatever animal going, okay, I give up. I'm actually going to leave. This is just too much.
But yeah, I would say a jackal would come out on top of a aardwolf. So often though, I mean, even that striped hyena with those jackals, everyone's just like, just leave me alone. Animals don't want to fight. I think a jackal and an aardwolf, they'd probably go, no, and just go their separate ways. I would guess, yeah.
I had a really interesting sighting also just in Botswana, where there was a pair of side-striped jackals and a pair of black-backed jackals that were in very close proximity to one another. Now, I've never seen that before. It was very strange. I mean, Southern Africa, it's a strange place at the moment. Also, northeastern parts of South Africa and extending up into Southern Africa. We all know that we're experiencing a drought at the moment. So things are very dry. So we're starting to see more unusual behaviors. But again, it's just adapting, being able to survive. So I couldn't understand why they were so close to one another. They weren't interacting with each other, but they weren't bothered by each other's presence at all. They were just sort of sitting there. So there weren't any predators around that were on a kill, because I thought, okay, maybe there's something about and they're just lurking in the distances, but there was nothing around that we knew of. But yeah, maybe there's just enough space that they don't need to compete like we typically see them, and perhaps an abundance of food. That's kind of the conclusion that I came to, but I could be horribly mistaken. I wanted to sit there for hours and hours to see if there was eventually going to be an interaction. But then there were lions on a kill. So naturally we went rushing off in that direction. Yeah. We went. And then
how nice though, just seeing those jackals side by side, not bothering each other, sharing what they have under these, particular circumstances. Nature could teach us all lots of things, I think.
Absolutely, and that's why we've just got to sit and watch and watch. And Kaori, you actually said that black-backed jackals are quite naughty. They are definitely naughty. There goes my dad. He looks like he's just been for a swim. As you all know, I have terrible signal where I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I tend to come here every now and then to do the shows. But those were some really interesting clips that we had today. I'm looking forward to following the story of the Egyptian goose goslings, Egyptian geese goslings. That'll be good. I hope that we get to see some more of the striped hyena and as well as the aardwolf. So definitely interesting things. But that's all the time that we have for you today. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us. And
it's a pleasure. It's lovely to see you.
Yes, always. But hope we're going to meet in person soon.
Soon.
But thanks to we'll see you again on Tuesday for the Africam show.